Hi, this is a quick video on how to stop your dog jumping. It seems to be an increasing problem, and often because one of the reasons it becomes so bad is people encourage their dog to jump. So it's all the excitement, all getting the dog G'd up, come on, yes, 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 up here, and your hands are going up here, and the dogs jump. One of the things dogs want to do is they want to get face to face, because that's a big part of their communication. And so people get down like this, and the dog's jumping up to get at the face, especially when it's a pup. So what you want to do is, everybody says do this and do that to stop it, but what you want to do is prevent it in the first place. So some of the things to do is stay up when you're communicating with the dog until it's calm. Don't get down and get it all G'd up. Don't get it G'd up in the first place. Alright, a puppy's got plenty of energy in the first place, and you just don't need to G them up. And the more G'd up you get, the more stimulated they are, the less likely they're going to listen to you, the more mistakes that they make, and these form into a habit. I always say to anybody, anything that you think is cute when your puppy does it is going to be a major problem as the puppy grows older into a dog. So anything that the puppy does that's cute, get rid of it straight away. Just train it out immediately, because I guarantee you it's going to be a problem when that dog gets bigger. So once it's happened, once that dog starts jumping up on you, the next trick is to finish that behaviour and train that behaviour out of it as soon as possible. The longer you muck around with it, the longer it takes, the more it becomes a problem, because not only is that dog getting bigger, it's also becoming a habit, so it takes longer to get out. So the sooner you work on it, the better. Stopping it in the first place is the ideal thing. But if you haven't, getting rid of it before it becomes a problem and before that dog gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Alright? Now, there's plenty of ways, the new age ways of doing it is, stand like a tree, turn your back to the dog, ignore it. And these work generally. But they won't work, or they won't work very well, when a dog has become aggressive in its want to greet you, and when this has become a habit, and when the dog's of certain ages and it's being a bit boisterous and so forth anyway. Because you'll turn your back and the dog will jump all over you. You'll sit down, the dog will jump all over you, and it just continues, and the dog will get quite aggressive doing that because the dog wants to get attention. And so the moment you react against that, the dog works itself up more and gets even worse with it, because any attention to a dog is good attention. Even if you're yelling at it, it's attention, so it's good attention. So ignoring the dog, standing still, turning your back, they can work in some cases, they won't work in others. And one of the real old tricks I was taught when I was very young was simply to take away the dog's space. Because basically when a dog's jumping up to you, it is a greeting, but it's doing it on its terms. So it's taking its place and its space, and it's coming in and it's encroaching upon yours. So all you do is take that away. Now there are techniques of, and they again came from old teaching, where you're quite aggressive towards the dog, which have no place anymore. And so you'll see people step forward and knee the dog. Or they'll stand still and the dog comes in and they knee the dog. If you've got a trainer telling you that, get another trainer, because they don't know how to train. Anybody that tells you that you need to inflict pain on a dog to train it doesn't know what they're doing. Get somebody else. And that includes with jumping. You do not need to put a dog's life at risk, and when you put your knee up, you do. I have seen dogs' hearts stop by this technique. Alright, so I don't care if somebody says to you, you just do it gently. There is no gently. Because you can't tell the dog to come in at you and jump up on you nice and slowly and nice and gently. Because if you could do that, it wouldn't be a problem in the first place, because the dog wouldn't do it. So when you put something up to block that dog, doesn't matter how you want to word it, you're kicking the dog. And if that dog hits hard, it's hitting up here, up under the chest, up under the protection that the chest has. You can break ribs, you can put pressure on that heart, you can stop heart, or you can get up underneath even further and do internal injuries. So this isn't about doing that. You are going to claim space. You're going to say to the dog, hey, this is my space. And it's done simply by, when the dog's coming in towards you, you simply just move forward and claim the space. And you'll see in the examples I give that when a dog's coming up, it's judging. Everything is in the judging. It's the same as we're running up to something to jump over it. We're judging at which point to jump. And so all I do is take that away. Alright, I don't look down at the dog, I don't pay it any attention, I just step. And it's as simple as that. Just like this. And I take away that space from the dog, and I'm saying to the dog, that's my space, you can't have it. So the dog's planning to leap from that space, but I'm taking it away. The dog is then forced to stop. And generally by the time, if you time it right, and it takes a little bit of practice, but when you get the timing right, you take the space away from the dog and you crowd the dog. And the dog has to go, whoa! And when the dog goes, whoa, it sits down. And then you reward the dog. Because the dog's sitting calmly in front of you. If the dog beats you and does get up on you, you simply claim that space. You just carefully walk forward. You don't lift up your knees to keep it away or anything. You just walk forward. You don't say anything, you don't do anything. You walk forward, and then the dog again is pushed back off balance. To regain it, it has to walk backwards, or it has to come down and it has to sit. And then you reward the dog. But if you time it right, you get that before the dog gets up in the first place. So the dog never gets its paws off the ground. And that's what you're looking at. Keeping and rewarding a dog for keeping all four paws on the ground. That's the trick. And if you do that from day one when you get a dog, you simply don't have a dog that ever jumps up on you. Because you don't allow it. The other thing too is, if you see that dog jumping up on you and you don't have time, or you haven't been able to judge to go forward, you simply turn away so the dog jumps and lands here. And then reset to take away its space. Walk back into it. Take away the space. Alright, and that's what it's all about. It's taking away that space and claiming it as yours and saying to the dog, hey, you might want to come up and say hello, but you can't crowd me. And that's exactly what a dog's doing. It's bad manners, it's crowding, it's the equivalent of you getting up and getting into somebody's face like that. And you're saying, hang on for a minute, that's my space. And the dog has to step back, sit, wait, calm down, and then it gets the attention it wants. So, I'll give some examples. So we'll be back in a moment. I'll just set up some dogs and we'll get some examples. Alright, be back in a minute. Okay, so this is Tenchi, and I'll show you Tenchi jumping up on me. Tenchi, up, up, come on, up. Good boy, off you go. Koji, to me. Up, come on, up, 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 up. Good boy, okay, off you go. Kuma, to me. Up, come on, up, up. And there you can see, I can't even get a dog to jump up on me, because from day one, all of these dogs were taught that they weren't to jump up on a human. Same as they weren't to put teeth on a human, they weren't allowed to jump up. And it was done with this method. So, how do we do it? So he's here, and I'll have to guide him up, so you just have to imagine it. He's up. He's come to get up, and I've stepped forward. And that's taken his balance. And another way is, to me, is when I step forward, you can see what happens. Kuma, to me. So he's in, I step forward, the dog has been forced to stop, reevaluate his position, and he sat down. Good boy. And it's really that simple. I simply force the dog who's planned to come up. In this case, he's not going to jump, I've just shown you that, but he's going to run up, right up to me and sit right here. And what I've done is just close that gap, and I've said, hang on, this is my space. He has to reevaluate where he's going, because he's not going to want to run into me, he's not going to want to run through me. He's going to have to reevaluate, and to do that he's got to go, whoa, and when he does that, he's forced to slow down, he's forced to step back, and sit and reevaluate where he is at, because I've taken away where he wanted to be. So it's a little bit like this, that I step forward and he's uncomfortable because I'm taking that position away from him. I'm saying this is mine and it's forcing him back. Good boy, yes, to me. Good. Okay, off you go. And so that's what it's about. Tenchi, to me. Ten. Come on, let's go. Come on, to me. And the same thing. He goes to come all this distance. I step forward and that forces him to stop and reevaluate. So it stops him from getting to the point. Tenchi, to me. It stops him from getting to that point of being able to get to me. Now, as you can see, my knees aren't up. There is no way I'm ever going to kick this dog. I'm not going to hit him in the chest or push him away or anything. No matter how you want to word it, you make it worded anywhere nice at all, that is not going to happen. I am simply stepping here. And I'm claiming that space. And this dog understands and respects the fact that if I want this space, it's mine. So he can come up, he can get attention, but when I don't want it, then he's to respect that. It's the same with him. If I'm all down here and in his face and he gives me any sign he doesn't want that, then I step back. I respect that. So it works both ways. Alright? So you don't want to go down here to greet the dog until you have total control over that dog and can trust that dog. You want to greet from up here. So when the dog does jump, because it hasn't been trained not to, when it does jump, your face is protected from any nips or anything that it might have. And so from here, all I'm doing is stepping in and I'm just taking that space. Okay, good boy. Koji! Tommy! Come on, buddy. Koji! Tommy! I just get Koji across, he's sleeping away. Come on, buddy. Good boy. Same thing. You can see what happens the moment I step forward. Yes, good boy. It's the same thing. Koji, to me. I step forward, he's got to readjust his position. Good. I'm not forcing in on the dog. I'm not lifting anything. I'm not lifting my knee. I'm not pushing with my hands or anything like that. Koji, to me. Yes. If I don't, he's going to come right up to me here. Because that's what he's trained to do. Here, come on. With me. And then I simply change. He expects me to be here, but instead I'm here. So he doesn't get the lift from the back legs in the first place. I crowd him. He's got to take a step back and go, whoa. So mentally I'm taking away from where it's pre-planned. Because if I'm stationary and a dog runs up to you to jump, it knows where you are, so it pre-plans and judges its distance, the same as we do. I simply step forward and take that away from the dog. So then the dog has to reevaluate. And by timing it, I sort of throw up that barrier to the dog where it then goes, whoa! A bit like stepping out in front of somebody, or you know, an animal runs in front of your car when you're driving, or somebody comes through a stop sign suddenly, and you hit the brakes and you go, whoa. Everything sort of lifts back, you know, mentally and physically you step back. Even though you're still going forward in that car, you step back and you hit the brakes, you pull up, you reassess because suddenly that distance has changed for you. And it's exactly the same here. So I don't have to spend hours and hours and hundreds of times just doing this. I can get the dog and I can encourage that dog to jump on me simply by calling it. He won't do it, of course. To me, Koji. But I change that distance. Yes, good boy. I then reward him when all 4 feet are on the ground. So 4 paws on the ground means he gets a reward. Anything else he doesn't. Okay, good boy. 3. Go on, under the shade. Alright, so anything other than 4 paws gets no reward, and I claim the space. If he's already up there on top of me, I just very slowly come forward and I claim that space until he's forced to reevaluate and go down. And when all 4 paws are on the ground, I do that. So I'm not even going to, when I train a dog, the moment I get a dog, if he starts to look like he wants to jump up, I immediately take that dog out and I train it out of the dog. And to do that, I will take him somewhere where I've just got a little bit of room. It might be in a small area in the backyard, or it might be in a big area inside where we've got room, a hallway, something like that. I will call the dog, make a fuss to get the dog to me, and as the dog comes in, I will step in. I will claim that space. I will take away the dog's ability to jump on me. And then I reward the dog. And then I'll do it again and again and again, and I'll keep doing it until I start calling that dog, and I'll see that dog's not going to jump. That dog comes in, I see it begin to slow down, so I wait. I don't take the space. I wait for that dog to just sit back from me a little bit and wait for me then to greet. And that's the trick to it. And you can do it, if you haven't let it become a bad habit, you can train that out of a dog in 1 or 2 sessions. It really is that simple. If you've let it become a habit, it's going to take a little bit more. But as you can see, there's no talking to that dog other than when I treat or I'm calling it. I don't talk to it when I step in. I step in slowly and carefully. You can see often I'll just open my legs a little bit to make sure I don't hit them with my legs. And if they misjudge it, I'll wear the impact. Alright? But there's a point of just judging it, so when they come in, you just take that little bit of space. I'm not sitting there and I'm not, jumping forward into a big step or anything. It's just a little step just to take that space. Because if I'm standing here, the dog's going to leap from about here. So I only need to close half to 3/4 of that space. So the dog can't leap, At the most, I've only got to close that space, and that's it. Alright, so that's a really easy way to eliminate dogs jumping, and especially ones that won't respond to the new ways of doing it, standing still. And I just find this so much quicker. And like I said, generally, if you get a dog pretty early in the piece, you train it out of them in an afternoon or so, and they just learn respect and they learn space. So it's also really good if you're sitting in the kitchen or anything else and the dog comes up, it's not jumping over you, it tends to just hang back a little bit and give you space. Alright, well I hope that helps. Again, be very careful. Don't walk into the dog. Don't hit the dog when you're stepping or anything else. It's just very slow, very gentle. Just make sure that you take the space, and that's all you need to do. Okay, thank you. I hope that helps.